HFY stood in front of the tall glass windows of the Galactic Council building and looked at the stars. His blue skin felt cold, even though the room was warm. The message in his hand told him everything he needed to know about his new job. He was going to watch humans fight in a war. The Valerian had never seen a real war before. His people solved problems by talking and sharing ideas. They had not fought anyone for over 1,000 years. War was something they read about in old books or heard about from other species who still did such things. You will go to human space and watch them fight the Korthax, his boss had told him that morning. We need to know how they do in battle. The Council thinks the humans will lose quickly because they are new to space travel. HFY did not understand why the Council cared about humans. They had only been flying between stars for 200 years. Most species took much longer to become good at space war. The Korthax had been fighting for over 3,000 years and had won against many worlds. The ship that took him to human. Space was small and fast. During the long trip, HFY read everything he could about humans. They came from a world called Earth, where they had fought each other for most of their history. The files said they were violent, but also very good at working together when they faced outside threats. When the ship reached Olympus Base, HFY felt nervous. The human space station was big and gray, with many weapons pointing in different directions. Ships moved around it like angry insects. Everything looked ready for war. A human, in a blue uniform, met him at the door of his ship. The man was tall, with short brown hair and scars on his face. His eyes were the color of steel. "Welcome to Olympus Base," the human said. "I am Commander Jake Harrison. You must be our observer from the Galactic Council." HFY nodded and tried to smile the way humans did. "Yes, I am HFY. I am here to watch and learn about your military ways." Commander Harrison laughed in a way that made HFY feel uncomfortable. It was not a happy laugh. "Military ways? That is a nice way to say it. Come on, I will show you around." As they walked through the station, HFY saw hundreds of humans working. They moved with purpose and speed. Some carried weapons that looked much different from what other species used. Others worked on computers that showed star maps and battle plans. "How many Korthax ships are coming?" HFY asked. "Our scouts say about 500 ships," Harrison replied. "Maybe more." "And how many ships do you have?" "About 150. HFY stopped walking. "But that means you are outnumbered by more than 3 to 1. Do you plan to retreat?" Harrison stopped and looked at the alien. His smile was sharp like a blade. "Retreat? No, we do not retreat. We have something better than numbers." "What do you have?" "We have humans." They continued walking until they reached a large room full of people working at computer screens. A woman, with red hair and green eyes, walked up to them. She wore the same blue uniform as Harrison, but with different marks on her shoulders. "This is Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez," Harrison said. "She will tell you about our tactical situation." Amy looked at HFY with curious eyes. "So you are here to watch us fight. I hope you have a strong stomach." "Why do you say that?" HFY asked. "Because humans fight differently than other species. We do not follow the same rules." Amy led them to a big screen that showed star charts. Red dots marked where Korthax ships were moving. Blue dots showed human ships. "The Korthax think they will win easily," Amy explained. "They have bigger ships and more advanced weapons. Their battle computers are faster than ours. By all logic, they should destroy us in a few days." "Then why? Are you not afraid?" HFY asked. Amy and Harrison looked at each other and smiled. It was the same sharp smile that made HFY nervous, because they do not understand what they are fighting, Amy said. "They think war is about having the best technology and the most ships. They follow ancient rules about honor and fair fighting." "Is that not how war works?" HFY asked. "Not human war," Harrison said. "We learned to fight by fighting ourselves. For thousands of years. We know that in real war, There are no rules except winning and surviving. HFY felt a chill run down his spine. The way these humans talked about war was different from anything he had read about. They seemed almost excited about the coming battle. "When will the Korthax arrive?" he asked. "Tomorrow morning," Amy said. "You will have a front-row seat to see what happens when someone attacks humanity." That night, HFY lay in his small room and tried to sleep. Through the metal walls, he could hear humans working and preparing. They did not sound worried or scared. They sounded eager. He began to wonder if the Galactic Council had made a mistake in sending him here. Maybe the humans would lose quickly, and he would go home with a simple report about their defeat. Or maybe something else would happen. Something that would change how the galaxy thought about the species from Earth. The alarm that woke HFY sounded like a dying animal. Red lights flashed in his room as the voice of Commander Harrison came through the speakers. "All hands to battle stations. The Korthax have arrived in the Proxima system. This is not a..." HFY dressed quickly and ran to the bridge where Harrison had told him to go. Human crew members moved past him in the hallways. They were not running or panicking. They walked fast with calm faces like they were going to work on a normal day. On the bridge, Captain Lisa Murphy stood looking at a big screen that showed space around them. She was shorter than Harrison, with black hair pulled back tight. Her brown eyes watched the enemy ships appear on the display. "Captain," a young man at a computer said, "I count 430 Korthak vessels. They are moving into standard attack formation." "Any messages from them?" Murphy asked. "Yes, Captain. They are demanding our surrender. They say we have 1 hour to give up, or they will destroy all human ships and bases," Murphy laughed. It was the same cold laugh HFY had heard from other humans. "Send them our reply." "What should I tell them, Captain?" "Tell them to come and take it." HFY moved to stand next to Murphy. Through the big window, he could see the Korthak fleet in the distance. Their ships were large and beautiful with smooth curves and bright lights. They moved in perfect lines like they were dancing. "They have very organized formations," HFY said. "Very proper military style." "Yes, they do," Murphy agreed. "Very predictable." The human ships began to move, but not in the neat lines like the Korthax. They spread out in what looked like random patterns. Some ships hid behind asteroids. Others moved in crazy zigzag paths. A few small ships flew straight at the enemy like they wanted to die. "Why are your ships not staying together?" HFY asked. "That is not proper military tactics. Proper tactics are for proper enemies," Murphy said. "We are not proper." The first shots came from the Korthak ships. Bright beams of energy reached across space toward the human vessels. Most of the shots missed because the human ships moved in ways that were hard to predict. Then the humans began to shoot back. But they did not aim for the enemy ships. They aimed for the space around them. Suddenly, the area between the two fleets filled with explosions and metal debris. "What are they shooting at?" HFY asked. "They are making a minefield," Murphy explained. "Now the Korthax cannot move forward in their nice, neat formations." The Korthak fleet stopped advancing. They seemed confused about what to do next. Their perfect formations began to break apart as they tried to avoid the floating debris and unexploded bombs. That was when the human ships attacked for real. Small, fast ships came out from behind asteroids and flew into the confused Korthak formation. Instead of fighting the big ships, they went after support vessels and supply ships. "This is not honorable combat," HFY said. "They are attacking the weak ships first." "Honor does not win wars," Murphy replied. "Dead enemies do." One human ship was badly damaged and losing air. Instead of retreating, the pilot flew it straight into a large Korthak cruiser. Both ships exploded in a bright flash. HFY stepped back from the window. Why did he do that? He could have escaped, because now that Korthak ship cannot hurt anyone else, Murphy said. 1 human life for 300 Korthak lives is good math. The battle continued for 3 hours. The humans used tactics that HFY had never seen before. They pretended to retreat, then attacked from new directions. They sent false messages to confuse the enemy. Some human ships turned off their lights and engines to float like dead metal until Korthak ships came close. Sergeant Bobby Chen led a team of soldiers who used small ships to board damaged Korthak vessels. HFY watched on a screen as the humans fought inside the enemy ships. They did not try to capture the ships safely. They set off explosions and cut power cables and filled the air with smoke. The Korthaks inside their own ships began to panic. They were not used to fighting inside their vessels. The humans moved through the dark, smoky passages like they belonged there. How do they fight so well in those conditions? HFY asked. Humans evolved on a world where everything tried to kill them, Murphy said. Dark spaces and dangerous places feel like home to us. By the end of the battle, 40 Korthak ships were destroyed or captured. The rest retreated to a safe distance. The humans had lost only 12 ships, but they acted like they had won a great victory. In the mess hall that night, the surviving humans ate and drank and told stories about the fight. They laughed about close calls and dangerous moments. They did not seem sad about the friends they had lost. HFY sat alone at a table and tried to understand what he had seen. The humans had won, but the way they fought was unlike anything in his military studies. They broke every rule about proper warfare. Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez sat down across from him with a tray of food. "You look troubled," she said. "I do not understand how you can be happy after what happened today," HFY said. "So many people died." "Yes, they did," Amy agreed. "But more people would have died if we lost. The Korthaks do not take prisoners. They kill everyone on the worlds they conquer. But the way you fought, it was so violent and chaotic," Amy smiled. "You think we should have lined up our ships and had a polite battle? Fire a few shots and then shake hands? That is how civilized species fight wars." "And how many civilized species has the Korthak Empire conquered?" Amy asked. HFY did not answer because he knew the truth. The Korthaks had defeated dozens of civilized species who fought proper wars, with proper rules. "The Korthaks will be back," Amy said, "tomorrow or next week, and we will be ready for them." That night, HFY tried to write his first report to the Galactic Council, but he did not know what words to use. 3 days after the first battle, the Korthaks came back with more ships and a new plan. This time, they did not attack the human military bases. They went straight to New Geneva, a peaceful colony world where humans grew food and raised families. HFY traveled to the planet's surface with Colonel Ryan Torres and Major Kate Sullivan. The transport ship shook as Korthak fighters shot at them during the landing. Through the small windows, HFY could see the colony burning in several places. "Why? Are they attacking civilians?" he asked Colonel Torres. "Because they learned that humans fight harder when someone hurts our families," Torres replied. "They think if they threaten our people, we will surrender to save them." "Will you surrender?" HFY asked. Torres and Sullivan looked at each other with those sharp smiles again. "They really do not understand humans, do they?" Sullivan said. The transport landed near the main town. As they walked through the streets, HFY expected to see frightened people hiding in their homes. Instead, he saw something that made his skin turn pale blue. The humans were preparing for war. An old man with white hair was teaching children how to make bombs from kitchen supplies. A woman who looked like a teacher was showing teenagers how to shoot rifles. Even elderly humans were filling bottles with chemicals that would burn. "These are civilians," HFY said. "They should not know how to do these things." "All humans know how to fight," Torres explained. "We teach our children about war the same way we teach them about reading and math." They walked to the town center where Danny Murphy was giving instructions to a group of people. He was young with friendly eyes, but his hands moved quickly as he showed them how to wire explosives. "Danny was a school teacher before today," Sullivan said. "He taught history to 8-year-old children." "How does a teacher know about bombs?" HFY asked. Because human history is mostly about war, Danny said when he heard the question. I spent years studying how humans fought each other. Now I get to use that knowledge for real. A loud noise made everyone look up. Korthak drop ships were landing at the edge of town. Soldiers in heavy armor began marching toward the center. Everyone knows what to do, Torres called out. Make them pay for every step. The humans scattered like leaves in the wind, but they did not run away. They moved to hiding places they had prepared. Rooftops and basements and underground tunnels all became fighting positions. The Korthak soldiers advanced in neat formations. They expected the humans to either surrender or fight them face to face like proper armies. Instead, the humans began a type of fighting that made HFY sick to watch. A Korthak squad walked past a normal-looking house. Suddenly, the building exploded and buried them in burning wood and metal. The explosion was triggered by an old woman who watched from across the street. She killed herself to stop them, HFY said. No, Torres corrected. She lived just long enough to see them die first. The fighting continued all day and into the night. The humans did not try to hold ground or protect buildings. They let the Korthaks take empty streets and broken houses while they attacked from shadows and sewers. Dr. Helen Carter worked in a basement hospital treating wounded fighters. Her hands were covered in blood, but she never stopped working. Between patients, she would grab a rifle and shoot at Korthaks through broken windows. You are a doctor, HFY said to her. You are supposed to save lives, not take them. I am saving lives, she replied while bandaging a young soldier. Every Korthak I kill is someone who cannot hurt my patients. Near the school, a single human soldier held a position against 30 Korthak troops. Private Alex Turner was barely 20 years old and had been shot twice, but he kept fighting. His rifle made sharp cracking sounds as he fired from behind an overturned truck. Why does he not retreat? HFY asked Major Sullivan. Where? Would he retreat to? She replied. This is his home. Alex fought for 6 hours without help. Every time the Korthaks tried to advance, he would shoot them down. When his rifle ran out of bullets, he used a pistol. When the pistol was empty, he threw grenades. When human reinforcements finally arrived, they found Alex still alive behind his truck. He was covered in blood and could barely move, but he was loading a new clip into his weapon. How many more are coming? Alex asked when he saw the other soldiers. We drove them back for now, one of the reinforcements said. Good, Alex replied. I was running low on ammunition. By morning, the Korthaks had taken most of the town, but they had lost over half their soldiers. The humans had made them pay in blood for every building and every street, but the siege was not over. More Korthak ships landed and brought fresh troops. The humans who were left gathered in the town center and prepared for the final battle. We cannot win, HFY said to Colonel Torres. There are too many of them. Winning and losing are not the only options, Torres replied. There is also making sure they remember the cost. As the sun came up, the remaining humans took their positions. They had no heavy weapons left and very little ammunition. Most of them were wounded and tired. But none of them talked about surrender. HFY realized something that made his chest feel tight. These humans were not fighting to win anymore. They were fighting to make sure the Korthaks would think twice before attacking another human world. The final assault began with Korthak aircraft bombing the town center. Then their soldiers advanced in overwhelming numbers. The humans fought them in the streets and in the buildings and in the rubble of their destroyed homes. They fought until they could not fight anymore. And when the battle was finally over, Korthaks stood among the ruins of New Geneva, with less than a quarter of their original force still alive. HFY looked at the destruction around him and tried to understand what he had witnessed. The humans had lost the battle, but somehow it did not feel like a defeat. The rescue ships arrived 2 days after the battle for New Geneva ended. HFY stood among the ruins and watched human soldiers search through the broken buildings for survivors. They moved carefully but quickly, knowing that every minute mattered. Commander. Jake Harrison walked through the destroyed town center with a look on his face that HFY had never seen before. It was not anger or sadness. It was something colder and more dangerous. "How many did we lose?" Harrison asked Major Kate Sullivan. 340 civilians dead, 112 military personnel killed in action, about 50 wounded who might live if we get them to medical ships soon. Harrison nodded slowly. And the Korthax? Over 2,000 dead. Maybe 300 left alive, and most of those are too wounded to fight again. HFY listened to these numbers and felt confused. But you lost the planet. How can you talk about this like a victory? Harrison turned to look at the alien observer. His steel-gray eyes seemed to look right through him. Because now, every Korthak commander knows what it costs to attack human civilians. They took this world, but they paid a price that will make them think twice about taking another one. As they walked through the ruins, Harrison began to explain something that made HFY understand humans in a new and frightening way. "People have been fighting wars for 10,000 years, Harrison said. "We fought each other with sticks and stones, then with swords and spears, then with guns and bombs and weapons that could destroy entire cities. Every type of war you can imagine we have already fought among ourselves." "Why did you fight so much?" HFY asked. "Because Earth is a hard world that makes hard people. Our planet tried to kill us with diseases and disasters and dangerous animals. When we finally conquered our world, we started fighting each other for the resources we needed to survive." They stopped at a broken fountain in the center of town. The water was red with blood, but still flowing. "Do you know what we learned from all that fighting?" Harrison asked. HFY shook his head. "We learned that there are no rules in real war except the ones you make for yourself. We learned that honor and fairness are luxuries you can only afford if you are strong enough to enforce them. Most importantly, we learned that the only way to stop an enemy who wants to destroy you is to make them more afraid of fighting you than they are eager to win." A group of human medics ran past carrying stretchers with wounded soldiers. One of the wounded was Alex Turner, the young private who had held his position for 6 hours. He was awake and trying to sit up. "Is the town secure?" Alex asked as the medics carried him by. "Yes, it is secure," Harrison told him. "You did good, kid." Dr. Patricia Lee was working in a field hospital set up in what used to be the school. She had been operating on wounded soldiers for 14 hours straight, but her hands were still steady. "Doctor, you need to rest." One of her assistants said, "I will rest when everyone is patched up," she replied while working on a soldier who had lost his leg. "These people fought for our home. The least I can do is fight to save their lives." HFY watched her work and realized something important. Humans did not just know how to destroy things, they also knew how to fix them and save them. The same species that could fight with such terrible violence also worked desperately to heal the damage that violence caused. Captain Steve Moore arrived with reinforcements just as the Korthax were preparing to attack another human settlement. His ships appeared at the edge of the system like angry hornets. The space battle that followed was different from the first one HFY had watched. This time the humans were not defending. They were hunting. "All ships target their supply vessels. First," Moore ordered over the radio, "cut off their food and fuel and ammunition. Make them choose between fighting and starving." The human ships moved through space like wolves chasing prey. They did not line up for a fair fight. They surrounded the enemy and attacked from all directions at once. Engineer Tony Garcia worked on the bridge of Moore's ship fixing battle damage while the fight continued around him. Sparks flew from broken cables and the floor shook from enemy weapons, but he never stopped working. "Why do you not retreat until the ship is repaired?" HFY asked him. "Because if this ship stops fighting, people die," Tony replied while connecting new wires. "My job is to keep us in the fight no matter what." The battle lasted 8 hours. When it was over, most of the Korthak fleet was destroyed or scattered. The few ships that escaped were damaged and running low on supplies. That night on the command ship, HFY found himself alone with Commander Harrison in the mess hall. The older human was drinking something that smelled sharp and bitter. "You want To ask me something, Harrison said without looking up. Yes, Zexhai admitted. I want to know why you seem to enjoy this. Harrison finally looked at him with those cold steel eyes. Enjoy? You think I enjoy watching my people die? You smile when you talk about fighting. You laugh when you plan attacks. You seem excited by war. Harrison was quiet for a long time. When he spoke, his voice was different, older and more tired. I do not enjoy war, he said, but I am very good at it. And I know that if humans do not fight these battles, then innocent people will suffer and die under Korthak rule. But there must be another way. Peace negotiations or treaties or... The Korthaks do not negotiate, Harrison interrupted. They conquer or they destroy. There is no middle ground with them, so we give them what they understand. Violence that is more terrible than anything they can imagine. Zexhai thought about this while Harrison finished his drink. You are afraid of us, Harrison said suddenly. I can see it in the way you look at us. Yes, Zexhai admitted. I am afraid. Good, Harrison replied. You should be. Because if you ever threaten innocent human lives, you will discover that what you have seen so far is just the beginning. Admiral Nancy Wright stood on the bridge of the UNS Retribution and looked at the star charts that showed where the Korthak fleet was running to. Her gray hair was pulled back tight, and her blue eyes followed the enemy ships as they tried to escape. They are heading for the Zerion Nebula, reported Lieutenant Commander Rick Davis from his position at the tactical station, probably hoping to hide in the gas clouds until reinforcements arrive. How long until we catch up with them? Wright asked. 6 hours at maximum speed, Davis replied. Good. Signal all ships. We are going hunting. Zexhai stood near the back of the bridge and watched the humans prepare for what they called a pursuit operation. The Korthaks were no longer attacking human worlds. They were running away as fast as their damaged ships could carry them. Why are you chasing them? Zexhai asked Wright. They are retreating. You have won. Wright turned to look at him with the same cold expression he had seen on other human faces. Retreating is not the same as being defeated. If we let them escape, they will come back with more ships and better plans. But pursuing a retreating enemy is considered dishonorable by most civilized species. Most civilized species get conquered by the Korthaks, Wright replied. We prefer to make sure our enemies cannot fight us again. The human fleet moved through space like a pack of hunting animals. Fast ships spread out to cut off escape routes while the larger vessels followed the main enemy force. Every movement was planned, and Coordinated Communications Officer Laura Bennett listened to radio messages from the fleeing Korthaks. Her job was to intercept enemy communications and learn their plans. Admiral, Bennett said. I am picking up panic signals from the Korthak ships. They are calling for help from their home fleet. What are they saying exactly? Wright asked. Bennett listened for a moment. Then her face went pale. They are warning their people not to fight humans. They say we are too dangerous and that their empire should avoid human space completely. Zexhai felt his skin turn cold. They are afraid of you. Yes, they are, Wright agreed. And they should be. The chase continued for 3 days. Every time the Korthaks tried to stop and rest, the human ships would appear and force them to keep running. The enemy vessels began to break down from engine strain and lack of supplies. Lieutenant Commander Davis showed Zexhai how human tactical computers worked. The machines could predict where enemy ships would go based on their speed and fuel levels, and the decisions their commanders had made before. How can you know what they will do? Zexhai asked. Because we study our enemies, Davis explained. We learn how they think and what they fear and what mistakes they make under pressure. Then we use that knowledge against them. The computers showed diagrams of Korthak ship designs with notes about weak points and vulnerable systems. Every detail about enemy weapons and armor and tactics was recorded and analyzed. This is very thorough, Zexhai said. "It has to be," Davis replied. "In human military doctrine, we assume every battle might be our last one, so we prepare for everything." When the human fleet finally caught up with the Korthax near the nebula, the enemy ships were spread out and disorganized. Some had engine problems and were falling behind. Others were running low on fuel and could barely maintain speed. "All ships attack pattern Gamma," Wright ordered. "Target their engines first. I want them alive to send a message back to their empire." The attack was swift and precise. Human ships appeared from multiple directions and disabled the Korthak vessels without destroying them. Within 2 hours, the entire enemy fleet was captured or dead in space. HFY watched from the bridge as human boarding parties took control of the enemy ships. The Korthak soldiers inside surrendered without fighting. They had given up hope. "What will you do with the prisoners?" HFY asked. "We will question them about their military capabilities and then send them home," Wright replied. "You will let them go?" "Of course. We want them to tell their people what happened here. Fear is a weapon too, and it works better when the enemy spreads it for us." In the days that followed, HFY watched the humans interrogate Korthak prisoners. The questioning was done by specialists who knew exactly what to ask and how to ask. Captain Sandra Clark was one of the interrogation officers. She sat across from a Korthak commander and spoke in a calm voice while asking about ship designs and battle plans. "We are not going to hurt you," she told the prisoner. "We just want information. Answer our questions and you can go home to your family." The Korthak commander was a large alien with thick armor plates covering his body, but his eyes showed fear when he looked at the human woman. "You fought like demons," he said in broken human language. "Your people have no honor, no rules. You fight to kill, not to win." "Winning and killing are the same thing in war," Sandra replied. "If you do not want to die, then do not start fights with humans." Pilot Frank Parker flew one of the ships that hunted down the last few Korthak vessels trying to escape. His small fighter could move faster than anything the enemy had. "It is like hunting scared animals," he told HFY after returning from a mission. "They run in straight lines and make mistakes because they are too frightened to think clearly." "Does that not make you feel sorry for them?" HFY asked. Frank thought about this for a moment. "These same Korthaks burned civilian settlements and killed children. I save my sympathy for people who deserve it." The final count showed that the human fleet had destroyed or captured over 600 enemy ships. Less than 50 Korthaks escaped to carry news of their defeat back to their empire. "This will end the war," Wright told her officers during a briefing. "No empire can lose this many ships and continue fighting. They will have to make peace or face rebellion from their own people." HFY realized that the humans had not just won a battle or even a war. They had broken the Korthak Empire's ability to fight anyone for many years to come. That night, he tried to write another report to the Galactic Council, but every time he started writing, he would remember the fear in Korthak eyes or the cold efficiency of human tactics, and he would stop. How could he explain that humans did not just fight wars? They ended them. HFY sat in his small quarters on the transport ship that was taking him back to Galactic Council space. The war was over. The Korthak Empire had sent messages asking for peace talks. Their military was broken and their commanders were too, frightened to fight humans again, but HFY could not stop thinking about what he had seen. His hands shook when he tried to write his final report. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw human faces smiling after battles or heard their cold laughter when they planned attacks. The ship's communication system told him he had a message from the Council. They wanted a preliminary report about human military capabilities. Simple questions about weapons and ships and battle tactics. How could he explain that human weapons were not the most dangerous thing about them? He started writing several times, but always stopped. The words seemed too small to describe what humans really were. Finally, he decided to interview some of the human survivors who were traveling back to their home worlds. Engineer Frank Parker was fixing something in the ship's engine room when HFY found him. The human looked up from his work with grease on his hands and a smile on his face. "Hello there, observer. How is your report coming along?" "I am having trouble finding the right words," HFY admitted. "Can I ask you about something?" "Sure. What do you want to know?" "During the war, you built weapons designed to cause maximum fear in the enemy, bombs that made terrible sounds and devices that would blind Korthak soldiers without killing them. Why did you focus on psychological damage?" Frank wiped his hands on a cloth and thought about the question. "Because a scared enemy makes mistakes. A dead enemy just gets replaced by someone else. But an enemy who is afraid will tell others to stay away." "That seems very calculated and cold." "War is cold," Frank replied. "We did not start this fight, but we made sure to finish it in a way that will prevent future fights." Pilot Sandra Clark was in the ship's small gym running on an exercise machine when HFY found her. Sweat covered her face, but she was smiling like she enjoyed the physical challenge. "Can you explain something to me?" HFY asked. "During the space battles, you used ramming attacks even when other options existed. Your people died in those attacks." Sandra slowed down the machine and looked at him. "Sometimes one life can save many lives. The pilot who rams his ship into an enemy cruiser prevents that cruiser from killing thousands of civilians. But does that not make you sad? To lose friends that way?" "Of course it makes us sad, but it also makes us proud. Those pilots chose to sacrifice themselves to protect others. That is the most human thing you can do." HFY interviewed more humans during the long trip home. Each conversation made him understand something new and disturbing about their nature. They did not fight wars to gain territory or resources. They fought to eliminate threats completely. When humans went to war, their goal was to make sure the enemy could never threaten anyone again. Dr. Helen Carter explained how human medical teams had saved enemy wounded during battles. "We treat their soldiers because we are not monsters. But we also study their biology to learn how to fight them better next time. Even their mercy was a form of warfare. When the transport ship reached Council space, HFY had to present his findings to the assembled representatives of 40 different species. The Great Chamber was filled with beings from across the galaxy, all waiting to hear about human military capabilities. "What is your assessment of human combat effectiveness?" asked the Council leader. HFY looked at his notes and realized that none of the technical details mattered. Ship counts and weapon specifications were not what made humans dangerous. "Humans do not fight wars the way other species do," he began. "They fight extinction events. Every battle is treated as if the survival of their entire species depends on winning it." The council members made sounds of confusion and concern. "Please elaborate," the leader said. "Humans assume that any enemy who attacks them wants to destroy them completely. So they respond with tactics designed to destroy the enemy completely. They do not fight for territory or resources or political advantage. They fight to make sure the threat never exists again." "Are you saying they are more violent than other species?" HFY thought about this carefully. "No, many species are violent, but humans have turned violence into a science. They study it and practice it and perfect it the way other species study art or philosophy." "What do you recommend regarding human military capabilities?" This was the question HFY had dreaded most. He looked around the chamber at representatives. "From peaceful civilizations who had never seen real war, I recommend that we invite humans to join the Galactic Defense Force immediately. Not because we like them, but because we need them." The chamber erupted in surprised voices and angry arguments. "Why would we need such a violent species?" someone called out. "Because there are threats in this galaxy that peaceful species cannot handle," HFY replied. "The Korthak Empire had conquered dozens of worlds before they met humans. Now they are asking for peace treaties. But surely we can negotiate with hostile species. Some enemies cannot be negotiated with. They only understand strength. Humans provide that strength." The debate continued for hours, but eventually the council voted to offer humans membership in the Galactic Defense Force. The vote was unanimous. Not because the council members liked humans, but because they understood what HFY had learned in a galaxy full of potential threats. You want humans on your side, not against you. That night, HFY completed his personal log. With a final entry, I was sent to observe humans at war, and I wish I had never gone. Not because they are evil or cruel, but because now I know what real war looks like. I know what it means to fight with no rules except survival. I know what it costs to face an enemy who wants to destroy everything you care about, the humans. Won their war against the Korthax so completely that enemy species across the galaxy now speak of them in whispers. Some call them demons. Others call them saviors. Both descriptions are correct. My own people can sleep safely in their beds tonight because somewhere in space human ships are standing watch. They are ready to fight wars that peaceful species cannot imagine and willing to pay prices that civilized beings would never accept. I pray that we never give them a reason to fight us.